So today, what I want to do is show you some strategies for drawing and sketching penguins. And these penguin sketching ideas will help you with actually drawing all sorts of different subjects, because there are some fundamental drawing ideas that will be mixed in with this that you can apply to any of your drawings. There's also going to be a little bit of penguin anatomy, so to help you look at our little friends in suits, and then we are good to go from there. So I am going to jump over to a shared screen here, and we have our penguin presentation. I am, again, sorry that our special guests aren't able to be with us right now. They are probably in the frustrating situation of trying to figure out how to get onto this meeting, but unfortunately my my website decided at an inopportune to kind of go belly up. But the 70 of us who are here, and we're going to make the most of penguins. So what I wanted to do is, I'm glad that Melinda got us started with taking a look at the those contour drawings, because that's a really great way to kind of warm up your brain. And what we're going to do is actually start ourselves with a little bit of penguin warm-up as well. What we're going to do is take a look at this penguin page. I would like you to, we're just going to do a series of quick gesture sketches of these penguins. So you pick a penguin and then start a quick sketch of it. And what you're trying to do is not to do a slow, careful study of it, but what you're going to be doing is just trying to get your pencil to move quickly, rapidly, in, around, and through the penguin. I am going to, actually, let me do just a little bit of a gesture sketching example here, and I'll show you sort of what I mean by the energy of these gesture sketches. All right. Hey, Ray, you're going to have to move. Thank you, Ray. So when I am sketching a penguin, what I'm asking you to do here is not to do this sort of slow, careful, here's my penguin tummy sort of a drawing. Instead, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be saying, all right, my penguin is roughly, loosely, this kind of a shape here, and instead of, so it's a scribbly fast drawing. Here's another penguin that's next to it, and this one is turned away from me, and so I'm trying to just kind of get these sort of lightning drawings done of all of my little penguin friends. So whatever you want, kind of, if your hand slows down and starts to do this, that's not what the energy that we want. So Jack,
we don't see the penguin pictures.
Oh, I'm just sort of making these penguins up out of my head right now.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that I am, I'm just wanting people to see that kind of this is the speed that I want our pencils moving. So the minute your pencil slows down, that's a different task than what we're trying to do here. So we're just going to warm up with a few quick pencil penguin sketches, and then I am, let me share my screen again, and here we go. Play. So pick your penguin, and we're just going to boom, 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 boom. Get your penguin down on paper. Going to get that penguin down on paper. And just experiment with what it's like to have your hand moving faster. You can use a pencil, you can use a pen. Right now I'm using a pen. Get your eye moving up, down, over, around, and through, making kind of ovals that are blocking in the body, making multiple lines. Choose a different penguin. Jump to a different penguin. And try to get these to be just quick sketches where you're spending maybe no more than half a minute on any penguin. Jump to a different penguin. You get to pick your penguin. Don't get locked onto one penguin and try to finish a penguin. We're trying to just really get our brains and our bodies, our hand, working fast, loose. I like that little one with the back to us. Kind of a blocky little penguin. This approach you can use anytime you're in a place your critters are moving, waddling around. You want to just be able to get a bunch of different poses. And by working on that and not having the stress of having to perfect any particular penguin, what you're going to find is that you are then, your brain will start to kind of get more of a sense of proper penguinness, of the general, your eyes moving around and fast. You're not getting obsessed about any one particular penguin. You're just trying to pick up a sense of penguinosity. This kind of fast gesture sketching is a terrific way also to warm your hand and your brain up before any day of sketching. You'll see if you ever take a figure drawing class, they'll always start with quick gesture sketches like this, where the person that you're looking at will be in a different pose, often changing every 20, 30 seconds. And that's just the ideal way to kind of warm up your brain. Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn to looking at our waddling friends a little bit more, a little bit more in terms of shapes. Melinda, are you able to see my my drawing screen and the PC at the same time?
Yeah, so can I just make a comment here just for everyone who is
Yes.
watching, is to make it easier. So for everyone on a computer, if you go to the screen and put your mouse in between the photo of the penguin and Jack's video, you'll see there's two white lines, and if you mouse over, a gray line will pop up. If you click on that with your mouse and move it, you can slide it left and right to enlarge either the photo or Jack's drawing. So if you go ahead and do that now, then you'll know that you can adjust the drawing however way you need during this session. And if you have any other troubles, you can just send me a message here in the chat.
Great.
Thanks, Jack.
Oh, thank you. And so that means if you want to get more of the photograph, you can get more of the photograph. If you want to get more of the my drawing, you can do that. So these are kind of quick gestures that Amelia's been working on, and you can see there's a bunch of just sort of fast shapes, and that's the energy that you want for this part of a thing. What we're going to do now is we're going to couple this kind of energy with now starting to kind of analyze some of these forms a little bit. We're going to train our brains to look at our penguin friend as a three-dimensional shape. So we're not going to be looking at the penguin so much as an outline around the edge of the penguin. We want to look at it as a three-dimensional form. So looking at this penguin that's on your screen, what I am going to do is I'm thinking of the body here. I think most of us kind of got that the bodies of a lot of these critters are ovals, right? But instead of just thinking of this as an oval, what I'd like you to do is start to think of this as sort of as a three-dimensional form. So it has, you know, it's going to stick out towards me a little bit here. If I could see through it, there it is looking around the back. So as I'm putting these shapes down on my piece of paper, sometimes a few kind of cross contour lines will help your brain think of this as a rounded three-dimensional thing. I'm going to put a little head into this. And so for the head, I'm going to make a ball. And bless you. And so my little penguin is kind of looking up like this. Again, this is a three-dimensional shape here that I'm working with. And that then forms down into this. So the big jump here is we're not just saying a circle and an oval. I'm thinking of a sphere and an oblate spheroid, right? And I've got one wing over here that's going to attach in this location. If I had X-ray vision through to the other side, my other wing would be closer to the back, attaching somewhere in there. And that wing would then be coming out like that. So I'm seeing through my little penguin friend, right? So I'm seeing through the body. Here is my other wing coming down. On the bottom, I'm going to give this guy a little sort of ball here for where the leg is, and it's got a little penguin foot sticking out there, and that other ball of its leg is kind of twisted behind it. So here are here's my little penguin. So I'm going to put a different penguin up there, and what I'd like you to do is to see through this next penguin in the same way. And, excuse me. So here are several penguins. You get to pick your penguin. You get to choose your penguin, right? And try to do the same thing. So I'm going to you're going to do the same thing. So don't worry so much about what I'm up to over here. Every once in a while, you might want to just check in and sort of see what I'm up to. But the more important than my penguin is going to be your penguin. And try to put in some of those cross contour lines. You're getting yourself to sort of think of these little ones as three-dimensional shapes. This visualizing essentially I've got a cone up here on the head of my little, on top of this ball. Visualizing these things as sets of interlocking 3D shapes is a real game changer in how we start to approach our drawings. If you're assembling things and in your mind, you're seeing through it to another side, the shapes that you make are going to start to make a lot more sense. At the first, it's really weird. You're like I've got enough going on just looking at the negative shape angle here. All right, but that's right. So we want to start to play with these as three-dimensional forms, and penguins are a great way of doing that. All right, so here's two more penguins. You can pick your penguin and block it in as a three-dimensional form. In mine, I'm sort of breaking it up into to 3 parts. I'm going to have sort of an upper chesty area on mine that is going to be a separate shape there, like a snowman. Big goal is to feel the form. Feel the form. It's not just a flat object on your paper anymore. It's a 3-dimensional thing. As your pencil slides across it, imagine yourself just, petting the penguin, and sort of your hand would move around this rounded form. I'm going to jump to a different penguin. Here again, you're going to choose your penguin, and but this time we're going to do something a little bit different. What we're going to do is we're going to start with kind of blocking in some forms. So just if I were to play with that penguin that is pointing towards the sky there, if I wanted to start with that, I'm going to give it a big penguin-y body. I'm going to put a cone on top of that, right? And attach that to another little cone coming down here. So kind of thinking of my geometric shapes and solids. Going to have one wing that comes out there. Another wing is going to attach somewhere on that other side, coming out here. All right, so I've got this penguin loosely blocked in, right? But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to play with negative shapes. So I'm going to just go down the head of my penguin here, and as I do, I'm now not going to be thinking of the shapes. I'm going to ignore the 3-dimensional form, and I'm going to look at the shape of the air next to the penguin, the shape of the gray paper. So on this one, my air comes down and then out at a slightly different angle. Right. Then it steps out and it curves back in. It's going to come down at an angle. And you see, each time there is a change in the angle of this line, it's a separate decision from me and my pencil, and then straight down from there. From there, this line is coming out. It turns down. It comes up, down, and back. All right, so each corner in this is a different decision in carving your penguin. And so I want you to kind of, as you work your way around the penguin, look for these different decisions. Look for these different decisions. Where are there places where it changes angle? Again, each one of those is, you want your brain to notice when the contour changes. And then you want your pencil to respond to that. Each change in angle is it's a pencil decision. You want your pencil to kind of notice when it comes to one of those decision points. All right, I'm going to do something different now. All right, I'm going to do something different now. All right, each one of those changes in angles You want those to register in your brain. So I'm putting those negative shapes on top of this constructed, solid, three-dimensional form. And that's going to help me think of these, get my brain to key in on really different but critical parts of this drawing process. If you finish your penguin, you can just start another penguin next to it. Same process, block it in with three-dimensional shapes, and then explore the negative shape around it to sort of find those edges of the form. And notice how profoundly different each of these approaches to drawing are. When I am looking at the cones and the oblate spheroids and stuff, my brain is working in a really different way than when I'm seeing the edges. And so you want to deliberately do both of those on your page. Let's try this with a different penguin. This is the last one. We're going to sort of change tacks in just a moment. But start the same way. Block it in first. And then you're going to switch over and just drop around those negative shapes and see what you notice. Two very different ways of thinking with your pencil. That's what we're training ourselves to do. We're training ourselves to think, to see with our pencil. So at this point, if you are one of our special guests and you are here on the meeting, please do put a message into the chat to let us know that you are here. and I apologize for being difficult for you to find us. Melinda, if you could just sort of every once in a while scan that and let me know if a message.
Yeah, no, he hasn't hopped in yet, and I posted the link to the Nature Journal Club Facebook page.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All right. So now we're gonna take a look at just sort of, you know, just for a brief review. As you look at these now, you see that they're geometric shapes, and you also see that they're negative shapes. So negative shapes is looking at this. So your brain, when you see this cone here, and you put it onto this ball, that's really different thinking than the kind of thinking that you're doing when you are looking at the shape of the air next to the penguin. Those are both fundamental processes, and you want them both going on. Now let's take a look underneath the hood here. All right, so we've got several skeletons of a penguin here. We might start just by taking a close look at the wing, because this is just so beautiful. This is so beautiful. Look at this big penguin wishbone right up there. That's the wishbone on the penguin. Right. So the arm has a shoulder here. This piece coming back here is the shoulder blade, or the scapula. For people who have done bird drawing workshops with me before, we talk about the scapular feathers. They insert above this bone. And so that's the shoulder there. And so from the shoulder to the elbow, that is the humerus. So that's like your forearm. So there's the forearm bone. And look at how it is flattened top to bottom. On the side, it looks really broad, but on the edge that is going to be cutting through the water, look at how skinny that is. Isn't that gorgeous? That's just, that's beautiful. And then, so from this elbow, in your forearm, you have two bones, your radius and your ulna, and those are right here. Those are right here, also dorsoventrally flattened. And then from there, this whole piece out here is the hand. So here's your hand bone. So elbow, wrist, and the elbow and the wrist here, those are, so you can bend here, you can bend here, and you can bend here. And we'll look at some penguins. Oh, not you yet. We're going to look at some penguins in a moment where we'll see this, but also just notice how big this hand is. All right, that's a big from the elbow to the forearm down there. And this is, we're close to the ground. That's an impressive bit of bones in there. Now, we're used to bird bones being hollow and light. These are actually dense, very, very dense, very strong bones. They don't need to be hollow because this bird does not need to be light for flying. And if it had air inside its bones, that would cause pressure problems when it does a deep dive. So very different structure of the bones. So they're flattened, no hollow core. Really, really wonderful animals. Penguins do have a hip. It's back here, short femur to a knee up here. And then their tibia and fibula come straight down to the foot bones that are out here. So what you're going to see is just sort of a pile of feathers kind of around this part of the penguin right here. Its knee is going to be hidden up in the body meat and feathers. And then there'll be a little penguin foot that sticks down. So you'll have around this part just sort of a little pad of penguin material, meat, blubber, feathers, and then your little penguin foot will stick down with that. 3 toes forward, the one in the back, vestigial across. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Also notice a couple things here about how the neck comes in. The spine comes in here at the top, and then there's a flat platform where the the collarbones are. Flat platform right in here. So from where the neck comes in, there's this flat platform. This neck can be curled down. Imagine this bump pulling forward towards this direction here. That would lower the head so that the neck can make this bump like that. So if this neck spine, instead of being straightened out, kind of pulls in here, that's going to give you a bigger bump right here in the top part of your penguin body. So you might have a slight extra bump up here if the head is down, and then the head low on top of that. Or the neck can extend up. So if I'm looking at my penguin sketch here, all right, this penguin here has a bump here. So its shoulder blades down inside are going to be coming like this. And its neck coming up from behind is going to come forward and attach to the back of the skull here, penguin skull coming in like that. And that's what's making this little bonus bump here on my retracted neck penguin. So here's penguins, but look at that neck going way up like that. I mean, that's a beautiful penguin. That's a beautiful penguin. These ones are where our head is slightly up. Sort of, this is the middle zone here, right? So all the way up, middle zone, right? But you can imagine this spine bending back here, right? Going down here and doing a little bit of curling around into this area, giving you this thick cone of the neck. And then you pull that neck down, look at this versus this, and see if, well, here's my challenge for you. No, by the way, this one here, this penguin's back comes right down here. All right, see that dark line? That's the back of penguin that's closest to you. This little penguin back here, its back is doing this. So this bump out here is this one isn't sticking its bottom back. It's got the straight back right here. So what I want you to do is, my challenge for you is, can you look at this penguin with the neck down and this penguin with the neck up and visualize what is happening under the hood with the bones inside the body? What would those be doing? Can you look at this and have it anatomically make sense? So these birds aren't just plastic or Play-Doh gummies that you can turn around any way you want. These birds have, you're looking at, they're constrained by that skeletal system that you saw before, and the contours on the outside of the body make sense relative to that. See this? Can you get your spine curling around in there? Is that what you were thinking? I think it was. So hot piggies, check that out. But wait, there's more, because let's look at penguin wing. Right, I want you to look at this wing, actually first over this one, I want you to visualize the shoulder, the elbow, and the wrist on this little penguin. And then, can you do it with these three penguins, right? Here with it bent, we're seeing those joints a little bit more clearly. But can you, just on your piece of paper, make a diagram for yourself of penguin with wing in position 1, right? Shoulder, elbow, wrist, right? And you might put an S, an E, and a W. And then draw this wing. Draw this wing, draw this wing. Can you find those same points when it is straightening those limbs? And what's important about this, why this gets to be really cool, is that you're going to get these subtle angles. It's easy just to draw this as a big curve and not realizing that there are inflection points where you get more change, right? So why is it that this is coming, if you were just sort of drawing this, it'd be really easy for somebody to draw that as a curve and not notice that it actually comes straight to there. And right there is an inflection point, right? What's happening underneath the hood there? See how a little bit of anatomy really helps us be able to make sense out of what is happening with our penguin flippers. I think that's just so cool. That's why I love looking at skeletons. It helps me look at the bird and kind of go like, oh yeah, he makes sense. Otherwise, your brain's looking at this and like, oh wait, they can curve? Okay, I'll put a little jiggle jaggle in it. But if you're not visualizing those bones, you often will put your jiggle jaggle in the wrong place. So this helps you kind of get that into the right place. Here what I want to do is take a look at, we want to think of the penguin underlying structure. By the way, anytime I put up a penguin here, just automatically start sketching the penguin, right? And then on some of these, we're going to be adding things underneath the hood. But if when you see this, you just sort of as autopilot, like I'm not going to sort of sit around here and wait for Jack to finish talking. Like there's a penguin in front of me. I'm going to get some penguin lines down on my paper. You're going to be able to make the most of this time, right? On this one, can anybody tell me why this wing is so short? Why is this wing so short? Is it a different species? Or what else could be going on here? So things to remember is that different species may have different size wings, but also one penguin, if it takes its wing and tilts it towards you, that wing becomes foreshortened. So you'll see different penguin wing lengths if the wing is right down flat against the side versus if that wing is, if the wing is tilted up towards you. But the big thing I wanted to do on this little penguin drawing here is to have you imagine what's going on back here and pay particular attention to this negative shape behind the head. You see that? Where the head comes into the body here? That negative shape and this negative shape right here in the front. If you are going to pay attention to two negative shapes, this is true for penguins, and I think this is true for drawing all birds. If your brain goes like, I gotta pay attention to this and this negative shape, your head will fit onto your body. Your head will fit onto your body. And so those are critical ones to do. We're going to get our penguin to, we're going to look at a series of photographs of penguins progressively looking further down. And I want you to notice and quickly sketch in the changes that you see in these angles here. You ready? So penguin now got a slightly different angle in here. So give yourself a quick sketch. Notice shorter looking wing, but it's also very clearly pointing towards you. So you've got your penguin body. There's a little penguin head and that negative shape along the back and that negative shape in the front. Now let's do this. Before you do it, can you visualize the spine here? Can you visualize what's going on in the spine? That negative shape, you've got several corners now. Body's a little bit more vertical. Get yourself negative shape up over the back. I love that negative shape on the back. So getting those shapes is going to really help your little penguins. Oh, love these little guys. So what I'd like to do now is to start to pay attention to the patterns on the body. Right? So you're going to get a little penguin drawing, but we want to start putting some plumage on top of our penguins. Here you can see on the belly that the body is actually made, actually you can even see that on this one. The body is made of, it's covered with little tiny feathers all over the body. And these are, if you look carefully, you can see rows of those feathers, right? And I have rows coming this direction. I also have rows going in this direction. So you can actually a few places on the body of your penguin when you're suggesting penguin feathers, if you can put in just a few little kind of hints of grid. So that means lines coming this way, lines coming this way. You know, a few little places with that suggestion of texturing kind of going into a few locations on your penguin will help kind of give this little penguin some texture. But now what I'm going to also do is we're going to kind of begin to get the black and white patterns of the tuxedo and the white shirt on our little penguin friends. And this is another place where I find using negative shapes is really helpful. If I'm just drawing this line, right, my brain will handle that differently if I look at the black part. Look at how the black part is an M. You see that? It's an M and it's more pointy here. So what I'm doing is I'm not just sort of following a line along here, but I'm looking at the overall shape of this. And the M, the bottom of the M points towards this part of the mouth. This part is more narrow. This part is more broad. Sometimes what I will do is I generally, when I'm looking at a negative shape like this, I will think of what part of this is going to be the easier for my brain to lock onto. So for here, we're looking at this. I like looking at this black thing. So I'm going to draw in on my penguin. My penguin gets a little M. And if I had chosen to focus on the white part, my brain would have handled that just slightly different. You get differently, but you get to pick on each one whether it's going to be easier for you to see that shape looking at the white part or the black part. Let's jump to a different penguin. All right. So look at this. You know, here I look at the white part, and look at the white part has this scoop up and down, corner and over. So as I'm drawing that, I'm looking at the negative shape of this. So just don't, sometimes I think of this as a line wrapping around a penguin. Sometimes I think of this as just a shape. It's got a point over here, and then up to a big curve, down to a corner, over in that. That line is just a shape. But as your brain is tracing around this, I find it really helps even to say out loud, you know, so a little point down to a broad top, straight down to a corner, over to another corner, straight down. So when you verbalize what you're seeing, it's going to help your brain catch those decision points of the line. Look at that nice little kind of cross. I'll give my penguin a little bit of cross-hatching texture here, very lightly, because this is super light. You don't want this to be big black lines going like this. You can have get away with a little bit of light cross-hatch texture in the belly down there. Look at this face, not in terms of a, oh my gosh, a penguin is foreshortening itself and pointing towards me. But I'm just going to look at this as a series, I'm just going to look at it as black and white shapes. If I were making a quilt, what is the shape of the shapes that I would cut out here? So if I have a penguin head that is pointing towards me here. And it's mostly squared up, pointing towards me. There is a large triangle. And off the top of that, there is, on the top of the head, there's a big crescent. All right, there's a crescent occupying this zone up here. I have eyes just a little bit off the corner of the mouth there. And I'm not making them round. I'm giving them a little bit of a point towards the inside, kind of like that. So this one over here. And then there's that lovely chin line, comes down, up, up, and over, and over. Penguins are really cool subjects because they're simple enough to allow us to practice our fundamental drawing skills, but they're complex enough to give us really interesting things to play with. Look at these lovely little patterns and shapes. So you get to choose your penguin. You get to pick your penguin. And what I'd like you to do is start by blocking it in with basic shapes. Then go back over that looking at negative shapes. And if you, and then kind of refine that as you're doing that by thinking anatomically about what's going on here. So thinking anatomically, here's a wrist, right? I'm going to want to make sure I get that corner, elbow, that corner, wrist, right? I want to get those features in my little penguin friend. Then look at these as negative shapes, the patterns of lights and darks. For this, of course, I'd be thinking of what is the shape of the orange, right? I get it, that shape of the orange. What is the shape of the orange here? And start getting some of those patterns, but really looking at them as negative shapes stretched across the bodies of these critters.
Jack, I'm just going to give you a time check. It's 1:04 right now.
1:04. All right. If any of our special guests are in attendance, please put a quick note into the chat box, and we'd love to give you the floor. So while we're waiting for that, just take a moment and get yourself, try to put some of these different techniques together and get your penguin on. There's some really cool negative shapes on these little critters. Sometimes when I kind of look at one of my drawings,
Jack, it looks like Marcia Sivek said that Marcia is here. Pablo
Oh,
had to leave.
oh, was Pablo here earlier?
I guess so. I didn't see anyone mentioning that they
Oh
had been
dear.
here.
All right. I'm so sorry about that. So we're going to be turning the floor to give people 1 more minute to play with your penguin. And then I'd like to introduce you to Marcia. We're going to see if we can get Marcia and Pablo on for a future zone. There's a few other little penguin-y tricks that we can include in that workshop. But I would love to introduce you to Marcia. Sorry, we had technical difficulties with. Today was the day that my my calendar system decided to go belly up and block everybody from finding the links to join us. So I'm just going to give everybody just a little bit more time to finish up the sketch that you're working on. And it'll be there for about 30 more seconds. So if you haven't done so yet, jump over to the point where you're playing with some of those negative shapes on the head, and see what you can do to sort of block in some of those negative shapes on the head. Where are you looking at the black? When are you looking at the orange? And when you get to use color, oh, that's going to be a fun drawing to play with, isn't it? So we've looked at a few different strategies of playing with our penguin friends. We've got 3-dimensionally constructing the body, so they're not just a flat thing. There's a form. There's a 3-dimensional form that you're feeling around. There is that edge is a really powerful contour line, and getting ourselves not to switch over from thinking about that contour or getting distracted by drawing the bird and really seeing the shape of that edge. And those negative shapes also help us see the patterns of lights and darks inside the body. All of those combined with an understanding of the skeletal system underneath there is going to help you get penguins that look like penguins. And I'm really going to recommend that everybody here, here's your homework. I need 7 penguins from all of you. 7 penguins. And these can be quick sketches, but on some of them, you might want to sort of take them a little bit further, develop some of those. See if you can suggest some, see if you can suggest some of the texture of the feathers in the white without making it look like there is a black grid on the belly. That's a big challenge, right? And if you do choose to do, say, an emperor or a king penguin, then if you want to, you can bust out your colors and you can get in there with the orange and the yellow and just have a lot of fun with that because you can. It's a good time. These penguin studies will help you be able to will help you be able to draw not just penguins, but these are fundamental drawing ideas that will inform your whole kind of sketching practice. The next time you're looking at a deer, you'll be thinking like what is the volumes in there? But going with the penguins, because it's such like, it's a simpler form, it's going to help you kind of lock that into your head and get that to be part of your game. It will really, really help you be able to do this.